Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. We are so excited that you're joining us today from wherever you are. And I'd like to welcome my colleagues today that will be speaking with you to learn more about our ATD26 proposal process. I'm joined by Mo Poyer. Mo is our ATD26 chair for the Program Advisory Committee. This is the group that will be reviewing your submissions. Thanks, Mo. And we have Jamie Kraus, one of our seasoned committee members on as well. I'm also joined by my colleagues, Samantha Streamer Veneruso, as well as Tiana McCutcheon and Ambrielle Higgins. So we are all here to support you in this process. Thank you. So again, just a little high level goals and agenda for today. We're going to go through the purpose of our proposal process, what that review criteria looks like, the requirements for the call for proposals. Jamie and Mo are going to share a few tips and hints, things they've seen and learned, well as shares resources and logistics for completing your CFP. And then we're going to end with questions at the end. So we will hopefully get to answer all of those for you. Really, we hope you leave here with identifying some key elements that you need to complete your proposal and critical elements for the committee, what they'll be looking for, as well as find those resources and discuss some practical strategies for completing that. And I'm going to share it with Sam now to talk about what does that proposal process look like, Sam?
Thanks so much, Bridget. I'm so glad that everybody's here. We are so happy that you're interested in submitting for ATD 26. If you've looked at the proposal process, or even if you haven't, you should know it's a fairly rigorous, complete process. We are asking you to think a lot about this. But honestly, one of the primary reasons for doing that is to help you prepare the best proposal that you can. So all the information that we're asking for, we're giving you a process and a step-by-step approach to creating a proposal that shines. We're also asking you for the information that the review committee and ATD is really looking for to be able to make a decision about your proposal and to help us build the most balanced and engaging and interesting conference program. Just as a note, the ATD proposal submission process is a really competitive one. We get hundreds of amazing proposals. I don't say that to discourage you. I say that to let you know that our proposal process is really important. We take it very seriously, and we see so much great content from so many different people that sometimes it's hard to make those choices. So as we do that, we're also looking across the L&D industry, across the talent development industry, across the world for proposals that will bring our attendees, you, the best content possible. And it also helps inform us on what the relevant trends are. So those things that you are seeing that you think are really important, that also helps us understand where you, our community, are seeing the need to talk about things, what you want to know about, as well as what you think is important within that industry. So hopefully when you go into this process and as you start to develop your proposal, you'll know that what we're doing is we're really here to support you. And we're really here to create an amazing experience for everybody who attends ATD 26, and that your expertise, your information is really valuable, and we appreciate the time that you're putting into doing that work. Hold on, there we go. So I'm going to turn it back over to Bridget to talk a little bit more in depth about what we're looking for in those specific proposals.
Thanks, Sam. I think a great place to start before you begin that proposal process is to ask yourself some of these questions. Um, is the session designed for, what you're proposing? Like when people leave, will they be getting out of it what you intend? Is the topic relevant and engaging? I know there's a lot of trends, a lot of things happening in the industry. So think about what you're seeing and hearing. These are your peers that are going to be reviewing it. So put yourself in that context as well. Does your proposed session offer relevant, practical, applicable professional development opportunities for attendees? This definitely ties to the last thing I just said, but you want people to, they're making a huge investment to come here. We want them to leave with actionable insights, things that will add to their learning, things that they can share with their team as well. Does it reflect the quality and expertise and excellence that an event of this size and nature really demands? And if you have not spoken at ATD before, an ATD event within the last 5 years, you're going to need a speaking a speaking video. So if that's required, make sure that you include that. We can get into that a little bit more later, but that's another key thing. But really, I want to turn it over to Jamie and Mo to talk about in a little more about what the committee's involvement is and things that they look for in terms of criteria. So Mo and Jamie, welcome.
Yeah, right on. Hey, everyone, thanks for coming today. Really makes a difference, right? So investing the time to think about what you're proposing and what you'd like to share with attendees at ATD26. Jamie, take yourself off mute. Let's have a conversation about this, right? Because this is what happens in the room. All of those proposals come in. We got 1,000 plus, right, Jamie, of proposals that arrive. And then only 20% get selected. And this is the best of the best. Jamie, is this the Olympics of talent and development at this event, right? That's how we're framing it, right?
I think it's fair to say it's the Olympics, absolutely. That said, I'm noticing the folks in the chat who are saying first time submissions, maybe I've submitted before but haven't made it through. Maybe I've spoken before and had been accepted. And so, like the Olympics, we're looking for the best of the best. But that said, you don't have to train, you don't have to be a 20-year athlete in that particular sport to get accepted. It's simply that you need to really meet the criteria that we're talking about today to make it on that podium and be a medalist.
Okay, Jamie. So every year, even in the committee room, we talk about new speakers, right? We want new people to be welcomed at the conference and have the opportunity to speak. So yeah, that's a really important call out. Final decision. Sometimes it's down to this proposal, and they're both really, really good, right? And then how do you distinguish? How do we make that final choice? Jamie, what are some of the things that you look for?
Well, I am looking for, look, our industry is becoming more and more data driven, which is a great thing. It's holding us accountable. And so a lot of us have developed it, sort of a prove it mentality. So when I'm looking at two proposals on the same topic, they're really, really similarly structured. I am looking for which one can show me that they have implemented this solution, this perspective, this approach, and it has worked above and beyond sentiment. Not just that the learners have liked it, but what tangible business impact has resulted because of this solution. And so for me, it's all about the data beyond level one, and I would say ideally even beyond level two. So level one being sentiment, level two being results from a quiz or something like that, knowledge transfer. I want to see a behavior change plus.
Nice.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I think also like something for me is really thinking about, I think both Bridget and Sam alluded to this, like the investment that conferences are. I imagine many of you have attended ATD or a similar conference. And so I would take a step back even before looking at the proposal worksheet and just maybe brainstorm for a moment. When you've attended a conference, and imagine yourself kind of walking away and you're walking with your friend and you're saying, oh my gosh, that was incredible. I loved this, and this session. What has led you to say that? What was it about those sessions that were so captivating, compelling, that's going to have you going back to work the very next day and be able to apply what you've learned to bring up that fresh perspective? So I would just really think about and brainstorm that and have that shine through in your proposal, whatever that looks like, whatever that means to you. Because you're not only submitting for this conference, but you're a conference attendee, and so you're a perfect representative. So think about that first.
Right on. Yeah, this is really smart, Jamie. Thank you. And Jamie, my tracks for the past few years have been the training delivery and facilitation, instructional design, and the measurement and evaluation tracks. There's 200 plus proposals that 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 have to be read in the month of August leading up to September. And all of this work that goes on behind the scenes, I mean, it's making the job easy for the committee members and the people who are reviewing your proposal. Give us substance on the topic. You talked about that, Jamie. Clarity on the design of the session. Hey, this is a talent development conference. We're expecting that there's good design, right? Some thought put into how you want your session to run, and help us visualize the attendee experience in the room. As I read through your proposal, I want to be able to imagine what will be happening in the room and what will it feel like, what will the content be, of course, and what will be the interactions and activities. And think about it too, right? The PAC members, the committee members are chosen because of their industry expertise. And so there's a breadth and depth of experience that's reviewing your idea and really thinking it through thoughtfully. And so that expertise in the industry, as we read through the proposals, we know that yours will stand out. If you demonstrate that you have something unique to say, something that's of value, right, to the attendees, and there has to be substance in the content, for sure. We also know that, back to the design, paint that picture for us that describes the agenda, the timing, the content you'll share, the activities that you're planning, with enough detail that the reviewer can easily imagine how your session will be delivered. And those are some key things that we're reading for sure.
I would add to kind of riffing on your paint that idea. These proposals demonstrate both the art and science of talent development. And I would say the art is what comes across in how you portray the topic, what the experience is going to look like. And the science, I think, alludes to the instructional design, the data, the learning objectives. And I think pairing those two will really set you up for success. But you might also consider, perhaps some of you have seen a proposal worksheet. It's linked on the ATD website. Another great tip is take a peek at that proposal worksheet and recruit a friend. These are peer reviewed, so find a peer or three and say, hey, can you please look at this worksheet and read my proposal and provide some feedback? And what I would say is sometimes our friends are like, oh my gosh, it's great. You're a rock star. You're gonna crush it. I might ask them a little bit of a challenging question, something like, what hesitations would you have about accepting my proposal if you were reviewing for this conference based on this criteria? What's one thing I should do differently? What should I do more of? What should I do less of? And so, as you're asking for feedback, maybe offer some really pointed questions so the folks who are reviewing your proposal ahead of submission can also be set up for success and providing feedback against that criteria in the proposal. It's a great worksheet.
Nice. All right, what's up next? We've got some more inputs. Next slide, Samantha. Yeah.
So one thing that I did want to go back to, because I realized I didn't make it clear when we were talking about the sort of proposal process, is the role that you guys, Mo and Jamie, and the rest of the people on the program committee provide. So your proposals are peer reviewed. It's not, there's a ton of information that they bring and a ton of expertise that they all bring to the table. And it's a two-stage process. There are two levels of review that happen. It's a very intense, very thorough process. And I think that all of the people who are, all of your peers who are reviewing those proposals are doing so with open hearts and open minds and the desire to find as many amazing proposals and give as many people opportunities as they can. So don't be discouraged by the fact that it's a very competitive process. And don't feel like there's a secret sauce. There isn't a secret sauce except for bringing your best ideas to the table. And, you know, anyway, so I'll leave it there, but I do want to really highlight the important role that the PAC plays in terms of helping us understand and really digging into your proposals. And they spend a lot of time on them. So don't think that your work and your effort is not being returned on the backside. So please know that every proposal is read deeply and thoughtfully throughout the process. So I just wanted to make that really, really clear. Um, One of the things that I wanted to talk about, a lot of you are first time submitters. Some of you are not. There are some new things because as we've thought about the proposal process and tried to design it in a way that it flows for you to design the best session, those sessions that really help the committee imagine what the session's going to feel like. So as you go through that proposal worksheet or as you go through the proposal, understand that we've laid it out very intentionally so that you can paint that picture easily for our committee, and that they can follow that in a logical order to be able to understand what you're really talking about. So we have some new things in the proposal process this year. One is session types. So we have, and I'm failing to remember the exact number, but we have a number of different session types, and those are described very clearly with these sort of broad type of outcomes, like what we would expect to happen with this type of session. They're described on the speaker opportunities page. There's also a link to them within the CFP proposal. Please take some time to read those carefully, not just the short descriptions, but also the intended learning outcomes. Because that I think will help you understand how to align your agenda and outcomes and session activities and description to the exact type of session you're proposing. So for instance, we have case studies, which are different from failure case studies. We have workshops, which are different from traditional presentations, lecture style. We have energizers, which are different from all of those other kinds of things. And we have panel discussions. And those things will be noted, and your session will be listed with that information in the program. So if you're accepted, people will come to your session expecting that kind of session. And as the committee is looking through, they're going to be looking, does your design match the type of session that you are proposing? Can I envision this as a great case study? Can I envision this as an actual workshop with hands-on activities? All of our sessions right now are proposed at 60 minutes. So, thinking about what can I do for a workshop within 60 minutes is a really other important thing as you're thinking about that outline and that agenda. What can I reasonably do in that time frame? We also have updated audience descriptions. So we're constantly refining and thinking about different audiences, who the audiences are within the talent development and learning development field. When we look at, we work closely with our education area, who does a lot of work with our career pathways and our talent capabilities. And so we're really trying to align to align across the organization to that. And so really take some time to think through the audience that you're trying to attract. And again, align that design and that session type to that audience and their needs. We've talked a number of times about the learning outcomes and the session outline or agenda. So this is another piece that we're asking for this year. We've shifted to this idea of learning outcomes, which really focus on the attendee's outcome, not just what you want to have happen in the session, but what happens for the attendee. When they walk out of that session, what's different for them? So really pay attention and think about those outcomes. And are they reasonable for the session type and for the amount of time that you have? That whole alignment, that whole design piece is really, really essential to the process of choosing things. We're going to talk about resources to support this later. I see Tiana has put a link in the chat to the speaker opportunities page that has a lot of the proposal content requirements. It also has that proposal worksheet that Jamie mentioned. The QR code on the screen will also take you to that page. You'll also see it again later because we really have tried to put as much information and resources as we can to support your process there. You also, another thing that is new this year is the optional alignment to the ATD capability model. So if you're not familiar, the capability model is something, it's an analysis tool, an assessment tool that is for you to think about all the different talents, capabilities, skills that you need as a talent development or learning and development professional. Um, each of those have, specific things underneath them. We, um, to get our certifications, you have to get a certain number of CEUs or time with those certifications. So we're also looking to advertise that, to advertise your sessions for that alignment to those capabilities, which then tie into our certifications. So if your session doesn't align to any of those, that's fine, but take some time to look at it and think about, is this a session that aligns to one of those capabilities? And we're only asking for one. Don't over, it's not going to make your proposal, if I choose 10, then it's going to be better. You can choose one and make it meaningful. This is just an optional piece that we're asking. A second optional piece that I didn't list here is we also are asking for global perspectives. And when there's some questions in there to think about what global perspectives are and whether your session reflects a global perspective. And that means a solution that is globally applicable or is coming from a global perspective. So do think about that as well. Again, these are not deal breakers. They are additional information. They're additional things to think about to really grow the program. So those are some new things. Bridget, Jamie, Mo, Tiana, do any of you want to add anything to that new part of the CFP requirements? I'm going to jump into the actual, structure of the CFP in a second, but is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you got it.
Yeah. All right. So one of the things that we've done this year to try to help you think about it, again, taking some time before you actually dive into the CFP itself, the actual place where you submit your form. The other optional requirement, Kiara, is global. It's not a requirement. It's an optional piece of like just letting us know if this represents a global perspective. And there's some questions in the CFP which will help you determine whether you meet that criteria or not. Mo, do you want to add anything to that global piece?
Yeah, I think, right. So when you come to the conference, you will meet people from all around the world. And so those global perspectives help broaden, right, outside of North America. My home's in Canada. So our work is, can often have a North American focus. But once we step outside of that and we start to look at different regions from around the world, it really helps us see what some of the trends and patterns are and what's happening outside of North America.
Thanks, Mo. So anyway, one of the things that we're doing again is encouraging you to use that proposal worksheet and to really like spend some time thinking about the whole alignment and design. And part of what we've done, when you go into the worksheet, you'll have a series of tasks. It's 7 or it's 8 or 9, depending on what kind of speaker you are. And those tasks are kind of linear, but it can help to think through the whole proposal, to think about it in chunks. So the first set of tasks really focus on the overview and background. So you're really setting the scene for what type of session you want to propose, what audience you're speaking to, what level of information is necessary, or what level of knowledge is necessary before you come in, before for the participant, what your topic and area of focus are, and then also sort of the general background for like why is this topic a big deal, why we should care about it, why it's important. So that proposal, and sometimes I do, I have seen people take that proposal background and then just repeat that in the session description. These are really different things. The proposal background, which is in this first part, is really asking you the bigger question of what's the context of this problem or this topic or this solution that you're proposing. It's really for the committee to understand why they should, consider this particular thing and to give like sort of the broader information. They will also ask you what your expertise is with that topic. So that's the other piece to really sort of think through. It's also the place where you add any additional speakers. The next sort of chunk of information is really, okay, what's the session? So if you imagine the first couple of tasks really are asking to paint the room, to set the scene, to sort of, give the overall foundation. And then the next section is, okay, what's going to happen in that room? How does it look? What's going to happen when I walk into that room and experience this session? What's that going to look like? And that's really where your session description, which is really important because there's a lot of different sessions for people to go to. And so when people are looking and trying to decide, they're expecting to go and get the session that's been put in the program. And they're often really disappointed if those two things don't match. So that session description is really essential. It's shorter, it's tight, it's what tells people why they should come to this session as opposed to another one. That should align to the session type that you've chosen, the agenda and the design that you've created, the learning outcomes, and then you also ask for like what are the challenges that are going to be solved that the participants are going to be able to solve as a result of this or think about, and what are the key perspectives they'll leave with. So those are the biggest chunks of the proposal first. And then there's two sets of materials. Everyone is required to submit 4 to 6 slides on a variety of different platforms. You can use PowerPoint, you can use Google, but those slides should show how you design content and that is going to be shared with an audience. And it should be focused on the topic that you have chosen for this session. It could be the starter for part of your proposal or for part of your actual session, or it could just be some, general information. But people, we want to see what do you do with slides? What's your slide design style? Because we're looking for best practices there. And then if you are a new to ATD speaker, and I think Bridget alluded to this earlier, that is that you have not spoken at an ATD conference of any type in the past 5 years, or you've never spoken at ATD. Doesn't mean you're a brand new speaker to always speaking, but it just means that you have not spoken with ATD. We are asking you to submit a video of yourself presenting. If you do not have a professionally produced video or something, or you've been, videotaped doing another presentation, that's okay. You can create one specifically for this, and you can create one using an iPhone or on Zoom, but you do need to have something, a presentation that shows you presenting to the audience. Jamie, Mo, Bridget, you guys want to jump in about that speaker video? We do have some guidelines and some suggestions around creating videos on the speaker opportunities page that has been linked to a couple times here. But do you guys want to talk about the videos a little bit?
Sure. Thank you so much. I would just say, one of the purposes of the video is to see your energy and how you would energize a room. Again, folks are really coming and investing a lot of time and resource, and there's a lot of sessions to choose from as well at any given time slot on any given topic. So how will you really engage your audience? How are you going to ignite and excite them about the topic at hand? So I think the video would serve that purpose. It also helps to give us a sense of how you would demonstrate your credibility, how you come across in front of a group of people. And so that's really helpful when I'm reviewing videos, especially for first-time speakers, to just see, okay, we don't maybe have like previous feedback from other conferences that they presented at with ATD. So how are they going to add to the program? And what unique perspective are they bringing, and what does their voice sound like? Not the tone of their voice, but like you as a human, how do you come across? So that's what I would share. Mo, what about you?
Yeah, Jamie, that's great advice. I'm picking up a question from Erica that came through in the chat too, just about how long the video should be. This is short, right? We only need 3 to 4 minutes. Like, we don't need an hour. We won't watch an hour long video, right? We want a short piece that shows you doing your very best work in front of a crowd. And it's not about like high production value. In fact, there's, when the committee watches your videos, a homemade video on a phone or something that shows you in the sincerest, most authentic way possible on stage, that's what we want to see. And it's about the impression that you make. So rather than, here's something to avoid on the videos. There's someone introducing you for the first 5 minutes of your video. We don't want to see that. We want to see you, right? So show us the pieces where you're at your best, engaging the crowd. We want to see that energy and that presence in the room.
Thanks, you guys. Bridget?
Yeah, I have one more thing to add. If let's say you've spoken before, I know we have a few of you on there, but you have a co-presenter that's joining you that has not spoken, that's a new ATD speaker. They will also need a video. So you will make sure that that gets included. You then have the option to upload one of yourself as well, but it has to be everyone in the lineup has to be accounted for because we do look at past speaking scores. We look at how people hold their room. So if you've been a previous speaker, we have data on you, if you will. But it's really important that you include anyone else on your submission with their individual videos so that it's counted for, because without that, it's going to be disqualified.
One other piece behind that, it is a required piece. And so if it comes in without that, the submission will be put to the side, unfortunately. So please, please, please take it seriously. The final section is there's not a whole lot for you to do with it. It's, thank you for posting those video requirements, Tiana, very helpful. The final section is really just our policies, conference policies and speaker policies to read through and pay attention to in terms of like what our expectations are for speakers. And so just take a little bit of time of looking at that. And in that proposal worksheet that we talked about, they're not that stuff isn't in there. There are other places that you can go and look at that if you need to review it in advance. But that's basically that last section. Tiana always mentions, and I don't know if she wants to come off of it, but Tiana always mentions to make sure that you save as you go. So as you go through each task, even if you're not done, like once you've moved from the proposal worksheet and into the system itself, you're going to want to make sure that as you go through, even if you're not done with a section, that you hit continue, then or go back out to the tasks page, and there's a save button either at the top on the right or the bottom on the right. Make sure to save, because anything that's not saved when you leave will be gone. So please, please, please make sure. Tiana, did you want to add anything to that?
Sure. Again, to Samantha's point, there will be a save at the top right and the bottom left. And you want to make sure after you click save, if you're submitting, to also hit submit again. So I have noticed that there has been once people save, they forget to submit because they're in the same exact spot. So submit and save, those buttons end up in the same area. So after you save, make sure you submit. And the way you'll know that you've actually submitted is you'll receive an email confirmation.
Thank
If you
you,
don't
Tiana.
receive one, you haven't submitted.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to also now turn it back over to Mo and Jamie to talk about some tips and hints from the program review committee, program advisory committee, things that they have seen and things that they wish they could tell people who are submitting. So this is the secret sauce of what the program advisory committee wishes you knew when you were submitting.
All right, Jamie, it's been since 2023 for me. So this is year 4. And in the past 3 years, I've read over 600 proposals. How about for you? How about for you? When you add it all up, how many have you read through?
Honestly, probably about that number as well, because
But,
the leadership
okay.
development track. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
a lot of coffee's consumed during that time, that's for sure.
Yeah, right on. Okay, so now it's the best of the best, right? What tips, what advice would we share? You've got a little short list. What's on your list?
Think we've talked a lot about like your unique sauce, what makes you unique as a thought leader in our space. And so we want to hear from you and not AI. And we talk about that in the room. We can tell now, look, I recognize that people polish work with AI, and that's okay to an extent, but please, please make sure that you are the one drafting your proposal and it's coming, it's an artifact of yours. So we're really hoping to see that. That said, if if you're using AI to polish and certainly proofread, I think because it's the Talent Development Olympics, we are looking for proposals that are error-free, that are really, really clean and tight and crisp. So I would just make sure from a structural perspective that everything looks really, really great. And again, use your friends and have folks give you some feedback on that. Mo, what would you say? What would you add to that?
Well, it goes back to, you know, how the substance, so I'm building on your comments, or I'm sharing something unique, something interesting. So sometimes in a proposal, I'll read this, the speaker has said, you know, in this session, attendees will learn the 5 secrets to engaging such subject matter experts in the design process. Okay, great. But then as I continue reading, they never tell me what the 5 secrets are. So I'm reading the proposal, but I have to guess, what is it that they're actually going to teach me? What are they going to share with us? So, you know, or the 3 tips from this case study. Well, tell me what the tips are, right? Describe those things with enough substance so that as reviewers, we can measure, you know, the impact and the effectiveness of the content for sure. So describe the models, the tools, best.
Either he's done a really good job of freezing in time, or maybe he's building on the secret, uh, the notion of a secret.
Am I?
We can hear you. We can't see you, Mo.
I can pick up. I'm happy to pick up from there. I think Mo said it really, really well. If you're going to present, the top 5 secrets, please don't keep that a secret from us so that we can review your proposal and discern it. I would also say, having available, as Sam was sharing your slides and any resources that are ready. As conference attendees, you know that you want to come back and implement things that will immediately evolve your approach, innovate the work that you're doing. So if you have resources ready that are going to distribute and say, great, I have built this fresh perspective anchored in this industry standard, but I've done a yes and here's my yes and. It's going to be marketed as a secret, but a committee, I'm sharing it with you. That is such a and I've implemented it at my place of work, and I've seen this level of revenue impact or this level of behavior change, this increase in productivity, whatever it is that your solution has done, that is an A plus right there. So I'll add that. What Mo, you were frozen in time, but you're back. Welcome back. Do you want to finish your thought?
Jamie, did you rescue me? Because in Toronto, we just had a micro power outage and my whole system just went dark for a few seconds. But I'm back now. All right. So, Jamie, I think you
Welcome
rescued
back.
me. You
You're
rescued me.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, good. Yeah, the second little piece of advice for me is once you pick your session style and your session type, then in the design, so Sam talked about this, it's the alignment. So I chose this session type. Make sure that in the description and in the design outline, it matches. So for example, a speaker will say, this session will be experiential and interactive. And then as they're describing it, what I find out in reading is that the interaction will be slides and some discussion. Well, hang on a second, right? That doesn't add up. It doesn't line up. And so make sure that there's that consistency. If it's interactive and experiential, and you're saying there's activities, there'll be 7 mini activities. Whoa, okay, now we have a new problem. Can you do that in 60 minutes? Right. So again, we're thinking through with some precision and detail as we read, does it all make sense in the context of what you're planning to deliver?
That's a great point. So if you're promising that it's going to be a really exciting experience, please describe that with as much detail as possible so we can sink our teeth into it. And I would also just add, you know, it is true that sometimes speakers have books or resources that are for purchase. So we want to really distinguish. We don't want our attendees to come in thinking, I'm going to learn something because they've already made the important investment in coming to the conference. We want to make sure that as they leave your session, they have everything they need and everything that's promised to them as a part of the session because they attended your session. Now, if they want to dive deeper and learn more, it's okay to, at the very end, maybe mention, oh, well, this is based on, some resource that I have developed. But again, we want to make sure that this isn't a 60-minute sales pitch, that it's really something that you are sharing best practices, thought leadership. We are learning together.
I just want to add, thank you guys very much. Our committee signs a confidentiality agreement, so it's okay if you share some of those secrets that you want to in your proposal. It all remains within the context of that, and we'd never share it out. So, again, put yourself in the learner's shoes, the attendee's shoes, what you would want. And again, the committee fully supports the whole process, and they're very, very committed. So obviously, just hearing from, hopefully you can pick that up, hearing from Jamie and Mo. So thank you both.
So we do have a number of resources that are available to support you. Again, Tiana's posted the speaker resource page a couple of times, the link to it. You can also go to it from this QR code. But some things we want to point out to just say that this is available to you. There's the proposal worksheet, which we've talked about a number of times. Again, the biggest thing about that is being able to share it with other people, to get feedback. Once it's in the system, it's sometimes hard. When it's done, you can print out a copy of it, but by then it's done and submitted. So while you're working on it, before you start working on it, before you get lost in that system, it's a lot easier to work on it outside of the system, to be able to copy and paste the pieces that you need in. Then we do have a tips for writing a good title for a conference session. Just a few tips, some ideas about what to do. We have a resource on writing good outcomes, which has some examples of like what works and what doesn't work and why it doesn't work. And again, we are really focused on the attendee and what the participant in that session is going to walk away with. So these are framed around the attendee. So really think about it from that perspective. Again, because we're doing all of this for the people who are coming to the conference. Finally, there's a video requirements checklist that has some tips and hints about putting your videos together. And then there's a frequently asked questions page. We have an email address. Tiana and Ambrielle and myself and Bridget all can get stuff from that. So if you have questions about the process, if you want more information, you can ask. If, a lot of it's there on the website, you should be able to find a lot of things, but if you need clarification on something, or if you have some other questions, that speakers@td.org is manned by all of us, personed by all of us. And I think the next piece is logistics, and it's back to you, Bridget.
Back to me. Thank you. Thank you. So there are a couple dates. That's okay. So we're in our submission period now. It's going to close August 5th. So it's a couple weeks from now. This is going to sound very silly, but make sure if you're putting a co-presenter on, that they know about it. We've had a few instances where people have been accepted. They're like, wait, what is this? So just make sure you're communicating with your group, if you will. I did see a question about if I'm a submitter submitting for a speaker. You as the submitter will be receiving the notifications. If you haven't completed your submission, you'll get those notifications to, you have X amount of time to turn it in. If you are declined, you will get that notice. If you're accepted, you'll get that notice. And if you're waitlisted, you'll get that notice. And then you communicate with your speaker group. So just keep that in mind, that if you are submitting for someone else, it's absolutely okay. You will be limited to 2 submissions if you haven't seen that criteria page. That is one of the things I don't think we have mentioned yet. When you do hit submit, and Tiana did say this, you will get an email that says your submission has been received. If you don't get that, check your spam filter or whatever, or go back and see if it's green and you have that submit check next to it. That's how you will know. And if you, again, I think I just mentioned this, but as you're going along and you're still in process, we'll periodically send you reminders because we don't want you to miss that deadline. August 5th is a very hard date. We shut it down, we audit the list, we review it, and then we send it on to our committee for their reviews because it does take significant time for them to be thoughtful and mindful with the process. So that's a big thing, is just to know that that is your deadline. And I appreciate some of the things that folks said in here. And Michael, we are here to support you guys. If anybody wants additional thoughts, share thoughts or questions, and I respect that you might not be ready for this year, but we're here all year long. We have a great team, and we have other volunteers that we can connect you with. I'm sure maybe Jamie, you said that. So I think that's it for the logistics piece, Sam. And now we can open it up to Q&A, which I see that there've been several that have come in. And I don't know if we want to start with the video questions since there seem to be additional ones about that.
Yeah, let's pick those off. Bridget, I like that.
Okay.
What's the first one that you see there?
Let's see. I think we answered how long does it need to be, which you
Yeah.
answered, anywhere from, 2 to 3 minutes. I believe sorry, I'm still scrolling through. I believe someone asked if it could just be audio. We do need to see the video component of it. A Zoom meeting is okay. Again, we like to see it in front of an audience, but if it's a session you've delivered in the last year or so and it's relevant, submit that. And again, it does not have to be long. Let's see, what else do we have? Anyone else on the team here that saw
There was
something?
a question about whether it could be an MP4.
Oh, okay. Tiana, do you want to talk about the two upload choices, options?
Yeah, so there's two options to submit a video. You either can submit a video link, let's say YouTube or Vimeo, however you have your video, or you can do an MP4 upload or any media upload you should be able to do. So either or, you can provide a link or an upload. You have the option.
I would
And
also
it's about everything.
Yes, sorry, Tiana, did not mean to cut you off. You just reminded me as well. I would say one of the challenges sometimes we have is that someone will submit a link, but it's set to private. And so we can't view it. So please, please, I would say check, have your friend, a neighbor, like someone else, make sure that they can access it before you submit it.
Yeah,
I
right
think
on.
that's a great point. So, like, for example, our leadership development tract, which Jamie reviewed last year, um, receives on average 250 plus submissions. So when you're going through that many submissions and you run into a stumbling block of, I need this is password protected, it may get skipped and they're going to keep on going. So you don't want anything that's going to kind of roadblock your proposal when everything else is just so beautifully done.
Yeah. Hey, let's pick off a couple more questions. Jamie, Bridget, you'll help me out here.
Yeah, definitely.
Millicent asked, do we need to be before an audience or is it okay to have a video of me only? My answer to that is we want to see interaction with the audience. So we need to hear you engaging with the audience and some interaction taking place. That's the ideal. So we want to know that there's an audience there. If it's just you speaking, we're only seeing a talking head and we don't get the same flavor of how your session will come to life. That's the first one.
There was
Good.
another, I don't know if there were any more video questions, but there was a question about how many sessions we're accepting this year.
Well, that's always a great question. That's hard to answer. And the committee always asks me that as well. They're like, how many submissions can we accept in this track? And how are we going to deliver? So it really depends on how many we get in, which averages about 1,000. And we typically cut 80% of them because we have about 200 or 250 education sessions. We are looking at our overall schedule and agenda for programming next year. So that number of total sessions might change. But it's a really hard question to answer because there's so many other variables. If you're in one of the more competitive tracks, you're going to be up against some more. If you're in one of the ones that are a little more niche, like sales enablement or healthcare, it might not be, there might not be as many. So it really, really depends on what that number looks like.
So there are two questions in here. I'm going to go back to the video question first, and then because it goes back to what you were asking or you were talking about, Mo, which is that question of what's the best way to capture people that attend a session. So if I'm making a video, what's my best way to get that interaction with people? Do you guys have any suggestions for that?
I mean, in watching videos over the past few years, I've seen it done lots of different ways. Sometimes it's panned out, right? And so we see that audience shot. Sometimes it's closer in, but we can see the backs of people's heads and they're interacting with the speaker. Other times we don't necessarily see the audience, but we hear the interaction that's taking place. So the speaker stops, asks a question, there's some interaction and engagement with the audience, and we can hear how that interaction is taking place with the audience members.
And perhaps you don't facilitate as part of your job all the time. One thought is if you are a member of your local ATD chapter, you might consider offering a session to your friends and colleagues in your local area and have someone film that. There's probably someone in that room because we all have different talents who can film that for you and capture you really well, and then send a segment of just what Mo was talking about, that call and response type format. And I would say, Brady, kind of to follow on your question, what's the best way to capture people that attend the session? Engage them, have them do something. I think if we sit there for a 60-minute lecture, gosh, I mean, if you attend a conference, it can be overwhelming and exhausting at times. So making sure that as we're providing that thought leadership, we're asking them to apply it, we're asking them to discuss it, we're asking them to do something with the information that's helping them build that muscle so that we have a greater chance of knowledge transfer and behavior change more likely. So I would say, to the extent that it's possible, have someone do something. But I've seen people do lots of fun things. I mean, my gosh, I think there's a conga line last year at one of your sessions, Mo. Yeah. Mo is a trip, by the way. So if you attend APD and he happens to present, my gosh, please bring popcorn. Um, what other questions do we have here?
So
I want to
Yeah,
add one more thing to what Jamie said. If you are feeling a little stressed about, I don't have a video, I'm not sure what to do, and you want to think about this in the next year, take that as an opportunity to, if you're presenting to your internal teams or to your local chapter or to whomever, maybe it's the PTA, get that on video, because this requirement is not going to go away. And some people get a little frustrated because they didn't know this was a requirement. It is something we've had for probably about 10 years. But just think about it as an opportunity for the next year to try to build that as part of your, proposal
yeah.
portfolio, if you will.
I want to just not to, go down that video hole one more time. But I also want to encourage you that you don't want to just try to set yourself up to do a 5-minute clip and that's all the presentation you're doing because you don't have enough time to actually warm up and to actually get into being who you are when you present. So I would really encourage you to plan at least a 30-minute sort of, or 15 or 20-minute at least presentation where you have a chance to really start talking, to build that engagement, then talk some more so that you actually can go through and choose the best part of what you're doing. You don't have to, I mean, nobody wants to see the full 20 minutes or the full 30 minutes or the full hour, but also don't curtail yourself where you're trying to get it all in 3 minutes, because you will not show up as your best self necessarily. Many of us need some time to feel like, okay, I'm in the flow, I'm ready to go, except for Mo. Mo is ready to conga line just about from the minute he steps onto stage. So, do think about that. Take your time. I did also note in the chat that, if you feel like you're not ready this year, that's okay. Although we would love to see what you put together. We do have other conferences that have open calls that are smaller. The conferences are smaller, and somewhat similar process for Core 4 and for Org Dev. Those calls come out in the spring. So, and the fall, the conferences are in the fall. And so those might be a good entryway, especially if you're don't have huge amounts of speaking experience. So consider those as well. There was another question here about wanting to submit a proposal from a session that had been previously accepted. I did receive feedback that I would consider to change the presentation. Is that feedback still available to access from 2024? Cindy, I'm not totally clear whether your proposal was accepted and you presented, or whether it was not accepted and there was some feedback to change it. Tiana or Bridget, do you want to pick that one up? Let's assume that it was not accepted or
Well,
that there
for
was
both
feedback.
scenarios, Cindy, if you want to email speakers@td.org with if it was regarding you submitted and it wasn't accepted, we can provide that feedback, whether it was for 2024, 2025, 2023 even. If it was feedback from a session that you delivered, we can also try to go back and get that as well. So if you just want to email us and differentiate what it is you're looking for, we'll be more than happy to pull that together for you.
Thank you. There's another question here about, is there a limited number of sessions per track? So I think that's that question again of how, you Bridget, I think you mentioned some tracks are very more competitive than other tracks. Are we limiting any of those tracks to numbers?
We do. You're going to find the most sessions in our core bread and butter, which is still L&D. So that's going to include training, delivery, instructional design, and measurement and evaluation. Those are 6 different tracks, but when you combine them all, that is going to hold the most of our sessions. I'd say leadership development and talent strategy and management, those 2 different tracks are the next 2. I'd say that the 2 biggest ones. And then it kind of goes from there. We have learning sciences, we have learning technology, we have career development, which is a very, very big topic, obviously, these days. A new track we have this year is personal career, sorry, oh God, I just went right out of my head. Personal leadership development capabilities. Is that right, Tiana?
Building personal
Building. Okay, so that's going to be new this year. So that will hopefully put that sort of under that career development vein, if you will, but in its own certain thing. So I can't give you a hard and fast number because again, it depends on how many sessions we're going to offer, how many seats are in the room. We're really at the mercy of whatever convention center that we're in, which next year will be in Los Angeles, which is a decent sized center. But again, every room might be a little different. But I think Jamie answered that. It's about anywhere from 100 to 300 seats in the room. So I hope
So we have about 2 minutes, and I
okay.
think you just hit the question on the typical size of the sessions, the number of people. It varies from room to room. Is there anything else that you want to add to that answer about the size or the typical sizes?
I think there's
No, oh, go ahead, Tiana.
Sorry, there was another question, and I think it kind of adds to how many sessions. The question was, what's the time frames of each session? So right now, I think most of them are about 60 minutes.
Back to, there was one final question about the videos, and that was a question about, can it be a recording of you in Teams or in Zoom?
The simple answer is yes. And you got to bring it. You got to show us, right? Bring the energy, show us your style, show us the interaction. This has to be engaging, right? We want to see that even in a virtual recording.
Okay, we have 1 minute to go. I think we've gotten maybe to all the questions. Any final words from our lovely ATD and PAC folks?
I would just say, first of all, I am so excited to see you all in LA next year. Mo and I were both first-time speakers once upon a time, and first-time submitters even. So we've all been there, and this is really, really exciting next step. And we're thrilled. We're thrilled that you're here and spent the time with us. Nice to meet you all.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you all for being here. Really, really appreciate it. I think we will wrap up now at 3.
Great. And thank you to everyone, to Jamie, Mo, Sam, and Brielle, Tiana. Thank you guys. Enjoy.